In this week, we're going to talk about the power of focused simplicity. And I'll tell you a little bit about what that means. But when it comes to running your business, it's so important to work on the things that actually matter. It's very easy to get sidetracked, very easy to start getting ready to get ready, or getting all these tools in your belt before you even get started. But I hope this video gives you some perspective on how to effectively use your time in order to make the progress you want to make in your business. We're going to talk about the power of simplicity in your business and in the offer that you have for your clients, for your community, whoever you're trying to reach. On top of that, we're going to talk about what the phrase simplicity scales, complexity fails. That is a really dumbed down way to put it, but it's super powerful when you really start to think about it. And lastly, we're going to talk about the bare bones of what you're actually needing to start serving your clients. This really will address that procrastination that we all kind of feel when we're trying to get our social medias and get all this other stuff. And talking about simplifying your business, simplifying your offer. So a lot of y'all on this call are financial coaches, but this community is more than just financial coaches, really just new business owners, new entrepreneurs trying to navigate marketing themselves, because you are the service. Like, you're not selling a car, you're not selling warranty, like you are selling yourself in a way. Like, how can I show you how effective I am as a coach or as a social worker, whatever your field is in? And so one of the hardest parts to really connect with clients is for them to understand what you do. A lot of us get into social work, get into life coaching and all this stuff because, like, I want to help everyone, every demographic, every reason. Like, when I started, I'm like, I want to help someone with their money, but now I want to help them with their health. Now I want to help them with their relationships and all these different things, which is great. It's great to want to help all these people, but when it actually comes to running an effective business, it's very hard to do that while maintaining that branding, maintaining that focus of your business. There are generally three markets that you can fit in: health, wealth, and relationships. They do have a lot of overlap. They do have, like financial coaching mixes health and wealth and relationships all in one, right? But when you're really focusing on what you want to do, how you want to serve, picking one of those three to put your focus in terms of your offering will be so powerful for how you're able to communicate to your clients, to your audience, but also how you're able to just like connect, not just communicating one way, but back and forth. And so when you're becoming an expert in one area, then you can really start to articulate the needs of the client better than they can themselves. And that's really what they're after. Clients, someone says, hey, I help you with money. Okay, cool. Like, cool, you help me with money. But they don't really know what that means. I mean, I hardly know what that means. That's so broad. Like, are you helping with retirement? Are you helping with estate planning? Are you helping with debt payoff, budgeting, maybe intentional spending? Like, the more you get into it, you'll realize how broad personal finance is, and it's crazy. But being able, as you're going through your practice, you're gonna start to feel, oh, I gravitate towards working with relationships, or I gravitate towards young adults graduating college. And then when you're able to identify either the demographic, so, like the age, marital status, all that stuff, or the psychographics, like where they are in their life, maybe it's a career change, maybe it's burnout related, maybe it has to do with family dynamics, the demographic and psychographics, you can actually start to communicate a lot more effectively. And whenever you're trying to like communicate your offer, having a specific, they call it an avatar or a person you're trying to serve, like you're talking to that person one-on-one, then you're able to communicate a lot more effectively. And so that's what it means to simplify your business and simplify your offer. It's very easy, like I said, to want to reach a broad audience, which is great. And sometimes you don't know your specialty or your niche is what they call it, that you want to serve. And sometimes that comes with trial and error. You have to put yourself out there. You have to take the steps instead of ideating all the time. Like I have a whiteboard here that I put a whole bunch of my thoughts and all that stuff on. I got in this huge downward spiral of just tons and tons of pages of notes and never actually getting going. And so we're going to talk about that in the third point. But the next point, the phrase simplicity scales, complexity fails. And that will apply to the point we just talked about on simplifying your business offer, but also simplifying your business. Like all the moving parts, all this stuff, it's really important that you stay focused on maybe 1 to 2 tasks for the short term and have long-term goals. So when it comes to simplicity scaling, we can run one-on-one coaching. Yeah, we can do groups, we can do webinars, classes, and then we can do speaking engagements and then social media posts and then all these different things. And then it starts to get really complicated really quick, right? And those are all really great marketing efforts, don't get me wrong. But when you're trying to pick one avenue or 2 avenues of monetizing your skill set, that's really where the power is. Like if you're getting focused on, let me optimize this one-on-one coaching session, let me optimize the consult process into one-on-one coaching so that from the point I reach the client and get to know them, and then they get to know me, and then I see their situation, and then I actually transform their life in the coaching or social work setting, then that is so much easier to outline than saying the web of different directions. So it's like, oh, do I take them to the group coaching route? Do I take them to a course route? Do I take them to one-on-one coaching? Or do I refer them? All this stuff. And all that will come with time, right? Like a lot of people, it's most effective to just start off one-on-one. And that way you're getting to know your clients and getting to know how you work with them, all that stuff. Over time, it'll become more diverse and more complex just with the nature of how the business is run. Simplify the messaging and simplify just like the process for that. Another part is the offer, is the process, but you have to also think about the language that you're using even. Especially like if you come from a clinical setting, if you have a lot of experience, try not to use all the technical language, because I don't like technical language. Like people with an MBA talking about profit loss and all these like conversion, churn, whatever, all this stuff. And I'm like, I understand that now, but when I was starting, I'm like, it sounds too high level for me. And in the same way, when you're trying to reach your audience, it's easy for us to talk about 401ks, IRAs, debt snowballs and interest rates and all this stuff, deductibles, and like some people understand what that means and stuff, but you have to speak the language of your audience. I think the sweet spot is like using 2nd to 4th grade level vocabulary, like that simple, but communicating in a way that obviously shows your maturity and your experience. You see this a lot in the health space too. If you're like a health coach or something, you can talk about all these disease processes, you could talk about the anatomy, you can talk about like these enzymes and all this stuff. But what do clients actually care about? They don't care about the process, they care about the result. So if you're reaching them and say, hey, are you tired of feeling blah, blah, blah? Maybe that's because you're doing this and that. Very simple. When you're actually putting your offer together, putting your business like vision together, it'll just sound surprisingly simple, but that is the power of focus and power of simplicity. We talked about the simplicity of the offer that you're trying to give people, your simplicity of your language, and the last part, which we're going to talk about, is the process, the simplicity of running your business, because I'm super guilty of it, adding all these extra tools and steps and all this stuff to even just get ready to get started. And I'm going to cover just like the bare bones, what you need to actually get started. And then as you're putting in the reps in, and you're not going to be perfect. You're not. But if you shoot for, hey, I'm getting a 70% on every assignment, and you do 10 assignments, you're going to make more progress than getting 100% on 2 assignments. And then as you're growing 10% better each time, then you're much further off in terms of like actual experience and your ability to serve what your clients actually need. So yeah, we're talking about the bare bones. You need a way to contact your clients. Very simple. A phone, an email, preferably a separate one from what you have. Google Voice is free. If you want a cheap alternative, you can do Mint Mobile. If you want to sign up for Mint, let me know. I have a referral link. But yeah, Mint is like $15 a month if you pay at the lowest cost. $15 a month for an extra line, another phone. It separates your personal and your business life, which will help you out mental health wise. Just have a way to talk to your clients. You can meet with them on Facebook Messenger. If you meet with them on Zoom, Google Meets, just something. It's okay if it's not completely professional, because we're still learning the ropes. The professionalization of everything will come with time. A lot of people don't really care about the professionalism unless you're really talking about branding. So yes, a phone, email, just a way for them to contact you. You will need a business bank account, or at least a separate bank account. And then a business bank account is fairly easy to open depending on the state you're in. If you're running as a sole proprietorship, some banks will just let you open a business bank account with your name as a sole proprietorship. But if you want like a company name and stuff like that, you can get what's called, at least in Texas, what's called a DBA, doing business as. But all that stuff is extra. Like you don't need that to serve your client. You can just call yourself, Coach Stella or Coach Joey or whatever. Very simple. And with time, as all that stuff will come. If you're waiting for the business name to start marketing yourself, you really don't. You just start marketing yourself, and then you can change the business name. You can change all that other stuff later. So a business bank account is beneficial because it separates your personal expenses and your business expenses. One, it's really great for tax reasons, just to know what you're even spending on your business. And two, it separates those boundaries that you're not always pulling from your personal savings for your business or your business to your personal and all these distributions. Then it really muddies the water when it comes to tax time, because you need to know what's deductible, what's not, what actually has like a paper trail and all of that stuff. There's a few ways to go about that, but start off with your local bank. You can always change the bank accounts later. So we talked about a way to contact, we talked about the business bank account, and then you just need a way to collect money. Very, very straightforward. Zelle, Cash App, Venmo, Cash, check, just some way to collect money. Square and Stripe are free. They have paid versions as well, but you don't have to go all out on like a whole project management system that has like these invoices, that has all these automations. Just collect money somehow. Zelle is super great for that. Go straight to your bank account, no fees, none of that. Cash, no fees, checks, all that stuff. Anytime you have a payment processor, then they'll take 2 or 3%, or maybe a little more actually. Have a way to contact them, have a separate bank account, be able to collect the payment, and that's pretty much it. That's all you need to actually start seeing clients, actually start marketing yourself. You don't have to have social media. You don't have to have a business name. You don't even have to have a website. All that stuff is beneficial and will add value to your practice. But what you need to actually see clients are just those 3 things. And that's the biggest barrier, just getting started. And so while you're working on all the other stuff, you still just start putting yourself out there, as uncomfortable as it is. That wraps up for the content of the power of focused simplicity. I hope you found value in it. So Garrett says, I need to focus on making content so I can get it on school and start making my first dollar. I'm not a content creator, but I have been to class for making a podcast. That first dollar is really powerful in terms of the mental barriers to even earn that. It's like, whoa, I'm earning money for myself. I'm not working for some government or some agency or some other person that's paying me. Like, someone actually values me and is paying me $1. That's like the coolest thing. But yeah, school is a really great platform. If you are having conversations with people who don't want to pay for one-on-one coaching because it can be pricier, things like that. Joey says, I can do 70%. Yeah, it's all about actually getting started. Start messy, and then you can clean it up later instead of like always doing everything perfect. All right, Garrett said, Zelle has been causing me problems since my bank didn't upgrade. Yeah, so, a lot of payment processors, you'll see they have business accounts and things like that. And there's some kinks sometimes. Setting up business bank accounts is really easy. I recommend at least getting an EIN number. It's not absolutely needed, but EIN stands for Employer Identification Number, and it's for tax purposes, but that way your social security number isn't tied to your business directly. Like sometimes if you're like a contractor or you need to give someone a W-9 form to know where they're sending a check to, having an EIN number instead of your social, it gives me the peace of mind. It's not absolutely necessary, but just like the EIN, the LLC, all these things are really good to protect your business and protect yourself. Life coaching in general is not very litigious unless you are like promising a lot of things you shouldn't be promising, right? Like, oh, I can help you make $10,000 in 2 months or something like that. Like, as long as you're conveying an offer that you can actually help the client achieve, then really it's your business. You can be as write your contract, write all that stuff. In terms of getting sued, you're probably more likely to get sued for like if you're a licensed counselor and you're helping people with their marriages and you end up saying something that causes them to get divorced, they may sue you. As you practice, just know where those boundaries are. We'll just say that.
One of my questions is, Ramsey gives you a template for contracts, but have you done your own contract and done omissions and errors and things like that in it? That I think that's really important to cover yourself.
Yeah.
I'm very much into the litigious part of everything. I've had to be for years.
Yeah.
So that's where my mind goes. So I just think it's necessary to have that up front and done well. So I just wondered if anybody on this call had one that was done pretty well. I've mocked up a couple and haven't had an attorney look at it yet, but just wondering what's out there.
Yeah, like for me personally, I have a coaching agreement that I put together. I could run it by an attorney, but the way I do it is like, it's more of setting expectations and not so much, let me get your signature before we start. It's like at the bottom, it says something like, by moving forward with the coaching process, you agree to the expectations of the coaching agreement. It streamlines the process for the client. You can't have them sign. It's really up to you on that in terms of like the issues you're working with, right? When you're working with relationships, that can be a lot more delicate. Same thing if you're working with bankruptcy and foreclosures, that's a lot more delicate than say, hey, I'm just overspending and I got $50,000 of credit card I need to get rid of. So it really depends on what demographic, what issues you want to work with and like the probability of some of those like risk stuff. But yeah, highly recommend having just at least a basic coaching agreement. But cover yourself in terms of like cancellation policy and refunds and all that stuff, but it sets expectations, right? And that, for groups, for one-on-one, a lot of value comes in setting the expectation.
Yeah, so one of the things I want to get into is daily money management.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably going to be a while coming, but that's kind of like where you're helping out an elderly parent or something. But what I want to do it for is like for high income earners, somebody who's got their own business going and they don't have time to dedicate to running their finances at home.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get into it where I can help them set up a bank account where I'm on that bank account, but I am paying their bills from that account, and then I'm sending them money to another bank account that I don't really have access to, but they use it just for their daily spend,
Mm-hmm.
And that way you don't really have to have a budget so much, but you just have to know I can spend what's in my spending account, and my other account's taking care of all my bills. My money manager is taking care of that portion.
That's definitely very interesting. It does lean on the side of high risk and like high liability stuff. So you definitely would want at least some kind of like LLC and contractual agreements and all that stuff. Because as soon as you're like doing something for someone else, especially when it comes to the money, yeah. But I think that's really interesting. I never thought about that. Like in terms of the spectrum of like what you can offer as a coach or as a business, you can do everything from offer products that are do it yourself all the way to done with you to done for you. Think of it as like if you're doing weight loss, right? Do it yourself is here's a course on how to lose weight and here's a meal plan that you put together yourself. Done with you is like personal training, and you meet once a week or whatever. And then done with you, which is sounding like what you're wanting to do in terms of like the weight loss, is like, all right, check in with me every single day and then I'll tell you what to eat and all this stuff. Done, like essentially done for you. It's like, don't think about it, I do it all. Or you can think like surgery, like bariatric surgery, that's like done for you on the weight loss side. And so yeah, think about that in terms of your product suite or your service suite.
Programs that I'm listening to another coach on with, her name is Kelsa.
Yeah, Kelsa Dickey.
Some people have listened to her. That's one of the things that she offered a long time ago, and she doesn't offer it anymore. But she's taught me a little bit about how to do that in her Financial Coach Academy. It's one of the things that whenever she mentioned that, I'm like, oh, that sounds really neat. But yeah, I'm running my coaching business out of my C Corp because I already had that set up, and I just put it as a DBA under that. And so, yeah, I realized that could be very litigious and have a lot of hang-ups in it. So, yeah, I am kind of leery of that. I need to get a lot of training, but they also have like daily money managers, coursework, and certifications. It's not national certifications, but it is certification that you can get from different people out there who've been in the field for a while now. It is an interesting concept, and it's like one of the things that I just latched onto. I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool.
Yeah. No, I think that's cool. I wanted to ask, like, we'll answer Joey's question first, and then we'll touch on that next question I had for y'all. So can you talk on the solopreneur movement? Joey, can you kind of explain what you mean by the solopreneur movement?
Yeah, so I've been kind of going down the rabbit hole of like, personal branding and creating like, the whole concept of yourself as a brand.
Yeah.
And there's these people that basically monetize their brand and themselves and their services. And it's kind of like a newer movement that I guess I've been seeing trending, but I just didn't know if you'd had any exposure to that or what your thoughts on that were.
Yeah. So you're definitely talking about branding, because solopreneur is just like entrepreneur. You're like a new business owner, but you're like by yourself. So there isn't always a branding aspect to that, especially in the early stages, because a lot of times you don't even know what your brand is, right? Like I didn't. I still barely know what my brand is. Like it took me a while to even come up with a business name and color scheme and all that branding. But like your personality, how you interact with people, is your brand. When you're talking about like these content creators, coaches, whatever, like these successful business owners, a lot of times they start pivoting to really value, how am I represented in media? How do people associate me with such products and things like that, which is powerful. And that branding is really powerful. When it comes to like the early stages and stuff, it's very hard to know what that is. Like the only reason why they're able to brand so effectively is because they have thousands of consultations and coaching clients with that experience, and they really dial it in. I mean, you don't need to have that many. Even just having like 50 clients and really knowing who you're trying to speak to and what your offer is, the branding comes from that, right? Some people, if you've heard of Gary Vee, he's very blunt and his language is kind of coarse, but it's very like matter of fact, that's his brand. Same with like Steve Jobs, he wore the same, black turtleneck all the time. Or Elon Musk, his brand is that he literally has no filter on what he talks about and all this stuff. And so like all these people end up developing brands out of their personality, and sometimes just like not intentional, but the people who are intentionally setting like, I'm going to represent myself this way, whatever, usually has a strategic component to like, who is the audience I'm trying to reach, right? If I come dressed up in a suit in this, office with all this like really nice furniture and stuff, I'm trying to reach and brand myself to reach a different audience than, like dressing up in a hoodie and just recording in a studio like this, right? Maybe I want to break down some of those like professional barriers so that it's more personable, while also being able to convey, content and the specialization of like whatever thing I'm working on. So when it comes to actually like solopreneurs, really the idea of solopreneur is essentially a single business owner. Like you are the business, you run the business by yourself. It doesn't have to be a service-based business like coaching. It could be product-based businesses where you're selling items. That's also solopreneur. Essentially it just means you're a one-person show with your business. So yeah, did that answer your question, Joey?
I guess I was just curious what your perspective on it was, and like, in this personal coaching space, like what would that look like, and how do I, because I've been all over the place throwing everything at the wall of like trying to think of like how to do that, but I guess I'm just trying to figure out from your experience so far, how do I best market, brand, and all that other stuff. But yeah, you covered all that.
Yeah. Like I said, you are the service, which is both scary and beneficial, because that the branding stuff just comes with your personality, right? And as you're talking with more people, your personality changes a little bit because your communication style changes. Like I might have sent some of y'all the video, but like my very first YouTube video and TikTok were like absolutely cringy. Like it did not feel like me, any of that stuff. But then over time, talking to people, on calls, and then of course doing videos like this, the way I'm able to represent my personality on camera is so different, and hopefully in a positive way, right? More engaging. Just lean into like your personality, your communication style, and the people you're best able to resonate with in terms of communication. That will naturally build your branding. But whenever you're moving into like a professional sense of branding, especially when it comes to like having a team and stuff, then that's like a whole different conversation that I'm definitely not qualified for. But yeah, I love the question though. Garrett said Canva is great for making your brands. If y'all are ever interested, I think Canva is a lot easier, like user friendly in terms of like, versus like Photoshop or something like that, or like Illustrator, and it's free. So I think that'll be cool if y'all are ever interested in developing your own like PDFs, your own graphics and things like that. Like a lot of my thumbnails and stuff for my YouTube videos are from Canva. So it's a really good way to start the artistic side. And if you're not artistic, do what you can, and then whenever you can hire someone to be artistic for you, then you can contract them and stuff. So the question I did have for y'all is, I really want to learn more about like who you're trying to reach in terms of your business. Y'all feel free to share just ideas and thoughts. If it's very broad, that's okay. That's what this call is about. It's about the learning process of trying to narrow it down.
So the thing that I'm trying to do is I'm kind of broad right now. It's like I want to reach everybody, but more specifically, I want to reach people who are in debt, and even more specifically, people who really don't know how to run finances. Like maybe they just got into a divorce, and the person that's coming to me never ran the finances for their family. And because that's my wife, she doesn't run the finances. She says, next time we have something bad happen, like the house gets flooded, I'm going to run it because you pay the people and they don't even work after you pay them because you pay them too much up front. And I'm like, well, whatever, but you don't ever even touch the finances. So, it's something that I'm in almost every day because I'm one earner out of a family of 6 because I have my 2 in-laws that live with me. So it's really tough, and I'm in that space every day, so I don't know how it works. But like my wife, she doesn't know how it works. So that's kind of what I want to focus on, people who maybe they just got into a divorce, they don't know how to run their finances at all, and I want to help that person. Other thing is maybe they had a death in the family and the person who did the finances passed away, and so I want to help coach that person. I know a lot of times maybe those people can't really afford the pricing that I want to do, so that's why I'm also looking at getting into high income individuals that just don't want to take the time to run their finances. So that's the other part of it,
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm kind of going after 2 different demographics,
Mm-hmm. And that's the part where as you're going through the motions, you're like, you can serve both clients, right? Or you can serve 5-10 different people. You can do all that. But at the same time, when you're serving like 5 different niches and stuff, making progress in any one of them becomes very challenging. So I definitely want you to think about, one, what kind of progress do I want to see? Like what kind of progress do I want to help clients achieve? Can I even communicate that effectively, right? Can I communicate it effectively? Am I even the right coach for them, right? How do I connect myself with the right client? I have a whole story about that if we have some time, about, picking the wrong client to work with, right? It's not always a one-way thing that they're picking you. You're also picking them because the type of client you're working with also impacts the kind of transformation you can help them with. So just have an idea, 2 or 3 niches or whatever, but don't let that stop you from actually starting conversations and really focusing on identifying their need. And instead of like having your service fit their need, just have their need and find a service that fits it. And then you'll naturally start building your specialty that way. But I appreciate you sharing that, Gareth. What about you, Stella? What are your thoughts on kind of where you want to take your business?
I want to focus on young families that are starting families, newly married people that are starting families, along with then the other side of that, because they don't know how to handle their finances when children come in. It costs a lot more than people think it costs.
Yeah.
And how to kind of manage your money that way. Plus, I want to help the families that have kids going off to college, because that's the other end of the spectrum, is how to manage those finances for parents and, forget the student loan and try to do that. So that it's kind of where my niche is, I think.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, right off the bat, you're already like, that is so dialed in that right now finding the right marketing and who to go to makes it so much easier. Like you can go to, like PTAs and high schools and things like that. Or you can, do presentations on college campuses to the students, or, other like maybe not parenting groups necessarily, but like, like that. For like the young couples and things like that, you have some young adult ministries and things like that. Like see like how narrow that is. Like you don't have to talk about retiring. You don't have to talk about, you can't talk about house buying, but it's not a focus. Like it makes it so much easier to create your messaging. And so I love that. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, Stella. And then Joey, what about you?
Yeah. So I've been going like my personal finance coaching, I guess, origin story started when I was active duty, and I kind of like was the finance guy everywhere I went, and I was always proselytizing on all the different things. Because once I got the light bulb moment, I was like, oh, I got to tell people about this. I got to get people out of debt, And so I was just all my service members, my coworkers, even people that were higher than me, I was like, we got to talk about finances. So it's a passion project of mine, and it's been 10 years now since I started that. So I have a passion for the military community, obviously. But as a social worker now, I'm seeing that there's a need for financial literacy and financial, coaching in the social work community as well. So I guess obviously I have a niche with the military community, and I have a path to reach that, but I also don't want to overlook my social worker community as well. So I'm kind of like torn between like, how do I market myself as, the fire social worker that, that's not military specific, but also social work. So I guess I'm kind of like in between two territories there.
Just, having that general idea of where you're going is so impactful, because you speak the same language, you understand the demographic of who you're trying to reach.
Is any advice on how to properly I guess balance both niches, if that's even possible, or should I just focus on the military community for now and then kind of like work on the social work community on the side or something?
I mean, honestly I would say getting your first dollar, you can try both and see which one you're able to communicate more effectively with. Like I struggle with the same thing. I was like, I just want to help, anyone in debt. And that was like my first niche. And then my second one was like, I want to help, helping professionals. And then over time, I'm like, I can communicate with social workers, nurses, teachers, because I'm in that space, right? And I'm like, I myself have not been in like $50,000 of consumer debt. So I can't necessarily speak to the same pain points as someone else, right? Sam, she had, $20,000 of consumer debt at 18, and she had to pay it off while going through chronic illness and all this stuff. I'm like, I don't have that experience. I can't communicate to those kind of clients, but she can. You can shoot for both and see which one you end up actually being able to resonate better with. Like, by the sound of it, it seems like you may be able to resonate better with the veteran community, but you never know. As you're working on the social work stuff, you could realize, Actually, I have like these 10 or 15 other experiences in my life that help me communicate with this group of this audience. Long story short, just have the conversations. You know, if you can shoot for, you know, 50% of the conversations you have with new people to introduce your business or something like that, even just get the conversation going about, you know, how you help people and stuff, that can be, that itself is powerful for helping you dial in your messaging and communication and all that stuff.
Just I have a question for you. What kind of social work do you do?
Well, currently I'm a medical social worker. I work in an ER. So I just got this job right out of grad school, and then I stumbled upon financial social work, and then I was like, no, that's what I want to do. So I have my day job, and it's good benefits, it's a good good pay, but I'm also trying to pivot now into this personal finance coaching, like social work, like financial social work space. So it's a niche in and of itself, but yeah, like my day job is nothing what I want to do.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because as a social worker, but I've worked in adoption and foster care my whole career. There is a niche, I think, and Teddy, you'll probably find this out working with PAL patient clients and things like that, is you have kinship families that have kinship kids that are just dropped off at their house and they don't know how to manage their finances. That's another whole niche, and that's why I asked what part of social work you worked in, because there is a niche out there for kinship families. They don't know how to budget their money. They don't know how to work a lot of that. So that's just why I asked. Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
I love that. I love this conversation. And we're wrapping up on time. And so I appreciate all you showing up. I think this is super fun and getting to connect with one another. And I hope that we grow this community. If y'all know anyone that would benefit from, calls like this and just the support, let them know. We really want this to serve y'all. And of course, with a bigger community, we can do that effectively. I appreciate all of you showing up. I love the questions. So yeah. All right. Y'all have a good rest of your Saturday. I had fun with this. I hope you did. Hope you got value. And I can't wait to see y'all kill it in your business. And so that wraps up for our call. And if you want more calls like this, go ahead and join our community. We have a bunch of weekly calls, content specifically like this. That way I can help you take the next steps to overcome those barriers that you're facing, your limiting beliefs, and all that stuff. So until next time, I hope you have a good one. Peace.